sold it on the news. We were victims of a ruse. Politicians rushed it through. But whose agenda did they use? Lock 'em down, lock 'em out. They'll be begging for a shot, without a doubt. Hit 'em hard, cause 'em pain. Knock 'em so far down they'll never rise again. Words were silenced, that's for sure. If they hinted at a cure, thought police are at the door. This be 1984. That's a fact. Many died, not allowed to have their loved ones by their side. Where's the rage? Hue and cry, when denied the human right to say goodbye.
Denied the human right to say goodbye. Where is the rage? We're here at Govan Police Station to find out what investigations, if any, have been carried out in relation to this incident number. This relates to crimes committed on the back of medical fraud, which has been perpetrated against the people of Scotland. Since January 2022, we've supplied mountains of evidence of criminality, including an FOI response from the Scottish Government, confirming it holds no evidence of a new virus or new disease. The only evidence the Scottish Government ministers and advisors have is a verbal claim from a terrorist at the WHO. Now, we've supplied evidence of the status of COVID-19 was downgraded on the 19th of March 2020, when it was known mortality rates were low overall. We've supplied articles published by the UK column of FOI responses showing how few frontline workers died with only COVID-19 on their death certificate. I believe the answer was almost none. Proving there was no public health crisis in 2020, just a lot of fear-mongering on the telly, radio and newspapers, and public servants fraudulently passing barbaric emergency legislation to trash our human rights. We've supplied evidence to police of a marked increase in neonatal deaths since the rollout of the fast-track drugs. We have provided evidence of hundreds of horrific adverse reactions listed in Pfizer's own post-marketing report, including heart attacks, thrombosis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, paralysis, myocarditis, hundreds, if not thousands. We've made the police aware of a 21-year-old died in Ayrshire only 12 hours after the first dose of the Pfizer drug. That woman in Edinburgh died 48 hours after receiving the second dose of the AstraZeneca drug. That a man in Forfar died in a vaccination centre. He didn't even make it to the door. We've provided evidence a man on remand in Perth prison was coerced into taking the mRNA drugs, still in clinical trial. He was coerced with the threat of never-ending solitary confinement. We've supplied research proving no one gave informed consent to being injected because no one was told the fast-track drugs were gene-based and still in clinical trial. No parent was told their child was a guinea pig in Pfizer's clinical trial, which ends on 19th of July 2024. We've supplied evidence of a massive spike in April 2020 in the use of the nasty drug used on death row, midazolam, used by hospitals. We've supplied that chart. Jim can show that. That's the April 2020. That's when there was a massive spike. That's when they started prescribing it to everyone in care homes and other residential settings. Yet, despite all this evidence, of wrongdoing been submitted to date to the police. They appear to have done nothing to stop the carnage. Today we have an appointment with Police Sergeant Alan Burrell, who created the original incident number. We've come to hand in witness statements made available to the Scottish COVID inquiry, which includes evidence of serious criminality. Forging signatures on medical forms, disregarding power of attorneys, non-consensual imprisonment, carers and NH workers acting like prison guards, extreme neglect and cruelty, starvation, dehydration, forced ventilation, medics ordering resident and patient executions. I have a document to hand in. It's signed by Chief Medical Officer Catherine Calderwood, the Registrar General of Scotland Paul Lowe, David Harvey, Crown Agent of Chief Executive of the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service, and DCC Malcolm Graham of Police Scotland. Now this was sent to everyone on the 24th of March 2020. Now that's very crucial, that date, because that was after the downgrading, when they already knew mortality rate was low overall. And within this document, it encourages everyone can write willy-nilly on death certificates SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19. And they can, and once that's done, your loved one's body will be treated like. This is the document at the bma.org.uk, and if you scroll down to page 5, right, there's a section here that says, now that a pandemic has been declared by the World Health Organization as of 11 March 2020, the Lord Advocate has instructed that medical practitioners do not report deaths as a result of COVID-19 disease or presumed COVID-19 disease to the Procurator Fiscal. So the Lord Advocate in Scotland is taking orders from the World Health Organization, which has absolutely no jurisdiction over Scotland. And that was the document that turned hospitals and care homes into execution sites. It gave doctors and nurses assurance as long as they put SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 on death certificates, bodies would be treated as toxic waste, cremated immediately, and no one would ever investigate their heinous crimes. That was put in place, and then they really went to town with the execution protocol, which is terrifying, isolating, restricting breathing, ambulance delays, if at all, dehydrate, deny water, starve, deny food, force ventilate, do not resuscitate, forging signatures again, and murder with midazolam and morphine nil by mouth. So that's what you were clapping for. If you went out to clap. We're going in to hand in indisputable evidence of murder in care homes and hospitals to the police, and also in witness statements from VAX injured people. Now, can you camera them, please? Yeah, we've chosen the most obvious serious criminality ones. You know, that's where there's medical documents have the forged signatures. You know, just in case, because the police seem to not know, they don't seem to be able to spot a crime, you know, it's funny that. And this chap is wonderful. He's painstakingly listened to all the testimony from the COVID-19 inquiry and to pick out obvious criminality. And I actually put the clips on a YouTube channel, which was taken down, even though it's all in the public domain. But that's his Substack there, and I made a QR code so the police can get access to all the statements. But today we're going in with the most obvious ones, and the recurring theme is all, you know, forcing them this what do you call it, just in case drugs, which is ordering a medic ordering an execution, and overwriting do not resuscitate, but yeah, basically, but ordering that, and people are under the impression it's just as if it's ever okay, it's fine to murder a 90-year-old. But I mean, Pamela's brother was 41. He had no underlying health conditions, and he was basically murdered by a medic. murdered by a medic. She put him, and she said it's not his signature, and she signed him up for a drug trial. She's experimenting on him like a guinea pig, and he was in a horrific state when they died, and that's why they're sealing the coffins, so you don't see what they've done. So we're going to go in today and find out what excuses they're going to come out with to not look at the evidence of murder.
So what's the day? What date is it?
It is Saturday the 30th of March, and we've got an appointment with Alan Burrow at 2024. An appointment with Police Sergeant Alan Burrow at Govan Police Station.
Yeah.
Right, so remember we came in and we reported a crime that people were getting injured through the COVID-19 vaccines, and we handed in lots of evidence. That was in the 20th of January in 2021. Then we came back in the April of that month and we asked you how you were getting on with the the investigation. So what happened was, when we came back in, we asked how you were getting on with the investigation, because you gave it as a crime incident number, and we asked the constable at the time, it was Constable Campbell, if he had looked over it, and they said no, because he needed names, dates of births, it needed evidence that people were getting injured.
That's right.
So we left and we went away, and we've been researching and speaking to people. We've been doing outreach every Thursday in Glasgow, and we've been speaking to the community. So we've got witness statements here for you now to look into and to investigate that people have died, or people have been injured since they've received their COVID-19 vaccine, and this is why we're here today.
And see these people you took statements of? Have they contacted the police directly?
No.
Why not?
Because
a lot of people are feared of the police.
They're feared of the police. Some people have died.
Police haven't been doing their job very well. They've not been protecting the public.
What happened was, we went away, we got some witness statements of people who's either lost their children after receiving the COVID vaccine, or people who have been injured. So this is part of the reason why we're here today, to hand in these witness statements. We're here for other reasons as well, and my friend is going to speak to you after.
I'm sorry, I'm covering this area myself, so it would need to be rather quick, but
right,
I'm happy
so that's the witness statements that I've got to hand in to Police Scotland today.
You can get it me. I will not be taking on an investigation myself. This would go to a national COVID inquiry.
I've come all the way from Dundee,
Okay.
and it's been quite stressful, the journey, and I've waited a long time. I have submitted mountains of evidence, sent it over the months, the last 2 years, to add to the same incident number, about the rise in mortality rates since the rollout of the you-know-what, but also the whole medical fraud from the outset. And I'm here today I've printed out a lot. All the statements are harrowing that in the COVID-19 Scottish COVID-19 inquiry. We've picked out ones that show really obvious criminality. They're not dealing with criminality, the COVID inquiry. It's learning lessons. You know, we're getting away with murder. That's what they're learning. But this one, Pamela, her brother was killed in hospital 9 Wells, and I've marked the part here. There's a signature that wasn't his on a medical form. It's really serious stuff.
So that's a criminal to do that?
I'm trying to show you what's criminal.
The police need to investigate it.
Gillian Grant. Gillian Grant, I do not resuscitate form for her grandmother. It wasn't her signature on the form. So I've marked the relevant bits. And this chap, if you go to the Substack, you can see there's more than these, but these are the most obvious criminality. And a common theme is they were killed with midazolam, morphine, and nil by mouth. So it's murder.
Why?
It's murder.
Is any of these people came directly
Yeah,
forward?
Pamela Thomas has been refused from the police. They're not doing their job in Perth. She's gone to the police several times, and she's in a terrible state, what they've done to her brother. And that is how they did it. On 24th March 2020, 6 days after they downgraded COVID-19, on the 19th of March, once to a no longer a high consequence infectious disease, when the new mortality rates were low overall. And then they passed, they're telling everyone medics, as long as you put SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 reform, the body will be treated as toxic waste, and they'll dispose of it. You can't the coffin sealed, and that's how they're covering up. That's how they're covering up their crimes, preventing funeral directors from reporting foul play, sealed coffins, blocking post-mortems, blocking police investigations. That is, I've sent this already, ages ago. That was April 2020. That's the spike in midazolam, and that's when they're saying that's killer drug. They use it on death row. And that's why they've been. And they call it a health crisis because they've murdered people.
This is what they were using in the nursing homes. They were using midazolam and morphine together. This is why all the deaths in the nursing homes was caused by the midazolam.
And then
they ordered the execution. Sorry.
And we need the police to investigate this as well. The deaths in the nursing home.
Okay, that goes through an inquiry. That doesn't come to a
It's
front.
No, it's a criminality.
Crimes.
Right, it doesn't matter if
It's a talking shop.
Can I tell you right now, the
just
three of you, and I'll be perfectly honest, I know you're recording me. I will allow you to talk. See if I try and say something and the three of you interrupt me, I'm going to say this isn't going anywhere.
Right.
I hope that sounds fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't hold out much hope. I mean, after 2 hours, we saw Sergeant Alan Burrell at the desk, but it's just, he wouldn't take the evidence. He won't. A phone call will do. They'll phone me back, and it's just the murdering continues.
Report it to inquiries.
That seems to be their current. What they're saying now. Report it, tell the inquiry, whatever. Their inquiries. They made it very clear. They made it very clear at the beginning. It's not. They're not ever going to punish anyone. It's about learning lessons, and the lesson they've learned so far is they can get away with murder. So it's pretty depressing. Wait 2 hours for that, and they're going to investigate every
hate crime,
word crime,
hate crime.
They're promising to do that. So it's pretty depressing living in Scotland now. But I mean, it's not a waste of time doing this, because people now will learn that you cannot let your relative go into a care home because they will be murdered. They will be executed in a hospital, but I don't know how we're meant to avoid hospitals.
You can expect no care from the care services by and large.
And they can imprison you, even when you're completely non-consensual, and that is, and nobody, I mean, it's totally against the law for an individual to imprison another one. So it's, people need to be aware of, these places have turned into prison death camps, and, you're better understanding that than trusting them.
Yeah.
We anticipate the inquiry will hear that people were pressured to agree to do not resuscitate notices, that people were not resuscitated even though no such notice was in place, that residents may have been neglected and left to starve.
For almost a year, guidance would not permit residents to leave the home or to go out for a drive in the car. The representative believes that in terms of the decisions that the government made, their effect on children has been, quote, horrendous.
Aye, that's what I says to him. I says my mum's no dying of COVID. My mum's dying of starvation and dehydration.
I was angry because the things that I read in his notes wasn't what the doctors were saying to me on a daily basis. The doctors were lying to me on a daily basis. Nurses were lying to me on a daily basis. Everything that was in my brother's notes was different from what I was being told on a daily basis.
They'd found him on his hands and knees trying to get to the toilet. I was then told they were going to introduce end-of-life medication, which would be midazolam and, if needed, and morphine, and I was shocked.
I've ascertained that the sedative that she was given is one called midazolam.
That's correct.
And we've heard about midazolam from other witnesses, and I think it is associated with end-of-life care.
She was also given 2 other drugs that were part of an end-of-life protocol.
By the next winter, we were back to square one. There was lots of people not getting in. There was lots of people who were
they'd really get into isolating people really badly that year. I mean, that was terrible. There was people being isolated for... People were coming in the group saying, my mum's been stuck in her room for 45 days. You know, and you sort of thought, where's habeas corpus in this? You know, I mean, surely you cannot bang people up in a room for that length of time.
So wearing a mask and being out in a cold garden, when I visited, there was like a gate in place, which sort of reminded me a bit of like a prison. So
yeah, I said to her, oh, that's good, you had a shower, and she said, no, they took me and they threw a big bucket of water over me.
And do you know what it felt like? It felt like I was going to the zoo and watching animals on display in the zoo. Don't touch, don't go near them, don't go near them. These were my parents.
Some seem to view the lives of those with Down syndrome as less worthy than others, and you give an example of a man in his 20s who attended the cardiologist with his mother, and the cardiologist during the pandemic said, I do not know whether it's worth operating on someone like him.
The common sense went out the window and everybody just went by what was being instructed.
I'm personally not convinced my mum had COVID.